Hi there, Pastor Daniel Sweet. This is 5 Minute Theology, and we're talking about the Doctrine of God, the third part in this little series here. What kind of being is God? That's what we're getting at. That's what we're asking. We have God's nature and God's attributes. We're talking about God's attributes today. Specifically, when we talk about God's attributes, we're asking this question, or we're thinking about this idea, what God is in relation to His creation, particularly human beings. How can we observe what God is like and how He relates to us? These would be called God's moral attributes as opposed to His natural attributes. So let's get into the doctrine of God. What is God like? His moral attributes. And they can be described in these three parts. First, we know God is holy. This is His primary attribute in relation to us human beings. God is a holy God. God is also love. He is benevolent toward human beings. He cares about, has compassion toward. God is truth. God is the very standard of morality. He's the very standard of truth. Let's break this down just a little bit more to help us understand what God is like. So if we think about God's holiness, because God is holy, what does this mean? It means that God is a God of justice. He cares about doing things the right way. He cares about bringing about justice for Himself, but also among other human beings, I should say. If God is holy, it means that He is right. He always does right. He is the very standard of right. That is righteousness. His holiness, because He is a God of justice, He is a God who does right. This means that God expresses wrath. This means, like, as a judge, He punishes evil. He pours out His wrath upon those who do evil. You cannot have a God who is just, who also does not punish wrongdoing. And so because God is holy, all of these things are expressed in the very character of God. That He carries out justice, He punishes evil because He is the very standard of righteousness. At the same time, God is love. This is difficult for some people to fathom. Yes, God is love, and He is holy. He is perfect. He is pure in every way. That's His holiness. And God is then benevolent. He is completely and totally loving as a part of His very character. This means that God is merciful. Mercy is withholding something that we deserve. And God expresses toward mankind His mercy toward us. Not only that, because He loves us, He also expresses His grace toward mankind. Grace goes a step further in that grace is God's unmerited favor, that He gives us human beings that which we do not deserve. He withholds what we do deserve. He goes forward and gives us what we do not deserve, and that is a part of His love. His love also means that God is patient. He is good in every way. God expresses His goodness toward mankind. He is faithful. He keeps His promises out of His love for us. So we have these two things that a lot of people see at odds. God's holiness, His justice. He punishes wrongdoing. He is the very standard of goodness. He's the very standard of rightness or righteousness. But also God is loving in all of these ways. God is also truth. He is truth. God is the very standard of wisdom. God knows the right thing because of His holiness. God knows how to execute that right thing. That is wisdom. He knows to apply the perfect knowledge that He possesses. That is wisdom. He is the very source of logic and reason. All truth is God's truth. Because God is true, he holds the foundations of the world together. He is upholding all of the laws of biology and physics and nature together. He is the very standard of truth, whether it's moral truth or even truth in the natural world. God is truth, and that is how he expresses his character to us human beings in his holiness, his love, and his truth. We'll see you next time for 5-Minute Theology. I hope this has been a blessing to you.